Once again, thank you so much. This presentation that we will see today, I already went into the English classes on Monday, and most of it was covered with the students. So this is kind of like the presentation for parents to see what should you be preparing for right now during the junior year, a very important year. And as I mentioned before, this is the first of four workshops that we do with parents and students. Every time I visit the classroom, we will also have a parent workshop so that we all receive the same information and we're all on the same page. So, just as a reminder of who the team is, Ms. Glickman will continue to be the guidance counselor for the current class of 2027. And Ms. Glickman, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. I'm going to try to answer some of the questions in the chat as well.
Thank you. And in the college office, Ms. Noiki and myself were both the college counselors of the 9th through 12th class. And any questions that you have about internships, about colleges, scholarships, programming for a particular pathway, you can reach out to both. If you're not sure who to ask about anything, if you're not sure who at this point, because you're working with all three of us, who would answer your question, you could definitely ask, send us an email to all of us, and one of us will get back to you for sure. Okay. So, oops, can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So also, we have Lisa Seal Cruz. I'm not sure if she is in the meeting right now. Lisa, did you join us today? No, I don't think she's here. So Lisa Seal Cruz is our wonderful parent coordinator. She also works closely with the college office. She has a parent talk every Friday at 12 p.m. via Zoom. And it's a very informal, very helpful talk between parents and across grades, usually 11th and 12th grade parents, where you could ask questions. She also sometimes checks in with us and tells us like, hey, anything that we should be announcing to the class, anything that you want to share, or sometimes she shares some of the questions that you guys may have. So I strongly suggest you join her talks. So for today, what we're covering will be kind of like a tentative timeline for the junior class. What does the year look like? We'll go over the importance of the grades and the transcripts and how they will be evaluated when applying to college. We'll talk a little bit about letters of recommendations, since many of the students will be requesting letters from their junior teachers. So that's something to start thinking about. We'll also talk about the SAT and the ACT, and we may have time to talk a little bit about Naviance and how do you start building that college list. I'll also address some of the questions that the students had. And again, all the students had the same presentation. If your child was absent, feel free to show them this recording, since it's the same information. So this is the tentative timeline for the 11th graders. In October or November, they took the PSAT. The PSAT it's a test that is not sent to colleges. However, it is used for the National Merit Scholarship. Students who have a certain SAT score, and that changes from year to year depending on the overall score, depending on the state. It's a little bit complex to know specific scores. So if a student is moves on to becoming a semifinalist for the National Merit Scholarship, they will be notified in the fall of senior year. For now, this test will help you determine what are the sections that the students needs to prep for. I would strongly suggest that you use this as a kind of like a practice and see if you need to prep more for the English section, or is it for the math section that you need to prep better. So it's helpful in many different ways. Then right now we're starting the college workshops. Usually in December we have Alumni Day, because many of the students who recently graduated come come back home, and they love to come back and share kind of like their first impression about their first semester, the classes, transition, advice that they have. So this is a great time for students to connect. And if your child has a school in mind that they're already thinking about that, and if they know someone's coming in from that class, I'm happy to connect them with them. And it's the perfect opportunity to ask them questions about either their application, or about how's it going as they transitioned from Nest Plus M. In January, early February, we'll have a second workshop, and students in the 11th grade will work on their resume. Maybe some of them already have a resume that they started. They can submit that, but the resume is very important for the college office to get a sense of what the students are involved in, what are they working on, and we'll give them time in English class to work on their resume, and it will count as an assignment. We won't evaluate if they have 5 million clubs, if they are the captain of 300 teams. No, it's we just want to make sure that they start crafting their resume. Because also many of our students in senior year use this same resume to upload to their college applications. So at least they could get started on working on and finalizing that early on. Also, January, February, we have a student survey and a parent survey. I will tell you more about this later on, but these two pieces are so important in the college process because as much as we try to meet with all the students and multiple times throughout the school year, junior and senior year, there may be things that are important for you as a parent to highlight in their guidance report, or for the student for us to know, whether it is to just know how to help them better or to include in their letters of recommendations, maybe some challenges that they faced, or maybe some highlights that you just want to make sure that we add to their school report. So I'll share more information about this. And there are two different surveys. The student survey will be answered in English class, and the parent survey will be emailed to you guys, okay? And then later on in March, we will start the one-on-one meetings, and we will start working on that preliminary list of schools for students. Now, right now, we just took a break to be able to speak to the junior class, but we are still in the middle of the application season with seniors. It really doesn't end until February once we send their um, mid-year report or end of semester grades. So that's why we don't start until later on after we send that with the juniors. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can email us, or if a student has questions, the college office is open every single day at lunch. Before school and after school, no appointment needed. So anyone could come in. After I spoke to the students on Monday, I had some students come in and ask questions. So that was really nice that they took the initiative to come in and ask questions. So please, I encourage you to, if you have questions, to encourage the students to come in, because it also helps us kind of like get to know them better, and we start, getting the conversation rolling. Then in March, students will take the SAT in school. This SAT exam can be used for colleges, for their college application. This is the only SAT exam date that is taken at Nest Plus Sem. If students want to take the SAT again, they have to register for it separately, and they will have to go to a different site. So I'll go over the dates in a minute, but we recommend students to take it in school. It's not 100% mandatory. We have some students who are taking the ACT and rather just not take the SAT. It's fine. But we do see that many of our students end up using this particular test to send to colleges. So I would say take advantage of that. It's a regular day. Students just show up. It's an environment that they know. And the school will register the students for them, so they don't have to do anything. And lastly, May and June is when the letters of recommendations are requested. when students start working on their college essay in Mr. Wells's class. He does an entire unit in which students start drafting, start brainstorming ideas, and they peer edit. And also, we have a team of seniors by the end, once they know where they're going, that help the juniors with their college essays. They could give them feedback, and many students do use this essay or continue working on it during the summer. And sometimes students have craft a brand new essay, which works fine. I think it's best to have an idea or to flush out an idea of an essay in June. And maybe if that doesn't work out, at least they already explored that idea, at least they already explored a topic, and they could continue exploring in the summer rather than doing that in September or end of the summer. Lastly, students will also open their common application in May or June, and I'll give you more information later on. So, this is just like an overview of the school year. And as I said, there will be 3 other workshops in which we will go in detail about every item. So, grades and courses. I think we went over this chart before. This is what a transcript looks like. And there is no other way to say it, but grades really, really matter for colleges. So, especially for the very, very competitive schools, the first thing they will look at is the transcript. And they're very transparent because many of the students that apply at one point will have similar characteristics in terms of academic rigor, GPA, etc. What are they looking for? So, the transcript will include eighth grade classes that for which students got credits in high school. If they took eighth grade classes, they'll have ninth grade classes, 10th grade classes, 11th grade. So the last when they apply to college, their transcript will have up until the end of their junior year, which is why many people think junior year is the most important year. All of the years matter because everything is evaluated. But I think that's where the idea comes from because it's kind of like the very last year that they'll be looking at. Then eventually, once they're in the middle of applying to college, we will send multiple updates to colleges about senior grades. So, um, they will look at not only the GPA but also the trend, right? Has the student been improving through the years? Have they been maturing as a student or gotten more serious, like in their academics? They will also look at obviously the GPA, but also the rigor. The rigor is so important for colleges. It's a word that they use very often, and it's mostly to talk about, are you taking the most difficult courses at your school? Are you challenging yourself? And at Nest, we don't have honors classes, we don't have accelerated courses because everything is very rigorous. Everything is already accelerated, and colleges know that. So they are familiar with our curriculum, they are familiar with the environment in which our students are. So the next thing after that will be the AP courses. They will ask each school, how many AP courses are they offer at Nest? Well, each year we have between 15 and 16. They will ask how many AP courses can a student take a year. So then we'll disclose, well, in the 11th grade, 3 AP courses maximum, and in the 11th, in the 12th grade, 3 AP courses. And if they have above a 98, they could take up to 4 AP courses. So once the colleges will evaluate the students within the senior class that is applying to that particular college. Why? They're not evaluated against students from other schools because maybe at other schools they only offer 3 AP courses the entire in the entire high school. So that wouldn't be fair. Maybe there's another high school that offers 20 AP courses. So then that wouldn't be fair either. So students will be looked at based on the Nest Plus M environment. And I would say that in general, in the 11th grade, students do take between 2 and 3 AP courses. And in the 12th grade, also students take between 3 and 4 AP courses. So something to keep in mind in the spring as students are selecting courses. Um, I don't know if Miss Clickman, if or Miss Noiki, if there are any questions in the chat that you would like me to address.
Oh,
Um, I think we've been answering most of them in the chat. Just some questions about the transcripts. It does show students' cumulative GPA at the bottom. There's a
Mm-hmm.
GPA for each year and semester. There's some questions about visiting colleges. Yes, we encourage you to visit colleges, and your absences will be excused if you upload an attendance letter to the attendance portal on the Nest Plus M website.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of
All
course.
oh,
right.
and one last quick question that I was just going to answer, but um, the new rule with whether or not students can take 4 AP classes, how it's centered around students meeting certain criteria.
Thank you. I believe that it's very straightforward, and students that have a 98 and up can take 4 APs, meaning the overall GPA. So right now, the GPA that students have is up until the end of 10th grade. So they won't know just yet. They will find out until, I believe, the end of junior year. Is that correct, Ms. Glickman?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And so there's a question about how can students qualify for AP classes next year. So yes, it's still the same rule that students need a 90 or above in their course and on the associated regions, or they have to do well in a previous AP course to move on to another AP course.
Okay. Thank you. And
Sorry,
if
one more question in the chat
yes.
too. Yes, once you create a College Board account, you can use that account for all of your exams. So that will have your students' PSAT, SAT, and AP scores on the same College Board account. You do not need to create a new account.
Thank you. And if you have more questions, feel free to email one of us and we will help you with anything programming related. But most of the questions might come up later on. I'll move on, and then we could also give some time at the end to ask some general questions. All right, so the next topic is letters of recommendations. And the reason why I want to bring it up now is because many of our students will request teachers from the 11th grade. So I wanted to put it out there and to remind students that many of their recommenders will be from this year. So to keep that in mind. The letters of recommendation from teachers usually talk about uh, who the student was in the classroom. Where did they ask questions? Did they participate? Were they good classmates? Were they helpful? Did they show curiosity? Those sort of things. Usually they don't talk specifics in terms of grades. So it's important also that the student has a strong relationship with the teacher. We encourage them to go to office hours or to communicate with the student. If, for example, the student needs an extension, or if they have questions about a grade, or if there is a miscommunication about something that was submitted later, I really, really advise students to communicate with the teachers. I know that as parents, sometimes our first instinct is to reach out to the teacher, right, on behalf of our child. But I think it benefits the students to be proactive. They could always include you in an email if that's the case, but that would also help kind of like establish a better relationship with the teachers, and the teachers will get to know the students better. So if you ever think, if you have a question about a grade, you could even draft the email with your child, or help them draft the email. That would also, it's another skill that they will use a lot during the college process. So again, try to encourage them to communicate directly with their teachers. Now, how many letters of recommendations um do you need? How many letters can you request? When do you request them? How do you request them? So at Nest, students must request 2 teacher letters of recommendations in person at first. And they're not requesting them now. They will be requesting them until May. Um, and this could be a combination of a 10th grade teacher and an 11th grade teacher. They don't have to all be from the 11th grade. It could be also a combination of subjects, or it should be rather a combination of subjects. It could be a humanities and a STEM teacher. Now, some students already know, for example, they want to go into journalism and they're applying to liberal arts schools, so they want social studies and math and English, for example, both humanities. That works. Or some students who are going for engineering or for a very specific STEM field. They want a math and a science. That works too. What we encourage you to do is to start as you tour colleges or as you join some meetings about specific programs, that you guys pay attention to the requirements for letters of recommendations. For example, if a student is applying to a school of business, usually they request or they require a math letter of recommendation. For students, depending, for example, Caltech, even a very STEM-oriented university will require a humanities teacher. So make sure that, that you ask if you attend some of these sessions, so that you start looking online to know the specifications. Right now, the students may not have a final list, but by May or June, they should have. Is another reason why we encourage them to have a preliminary list of schools and or programs. In addition to the 2 teacher letters of recommendations, they will automatically receive a guidance/college office letter of recommendation. All of them. They don't have to request it. We actually start drafting these February, March, and it's in collaboration with Miss Glickman as well, since Miss Glickman know the students well, and she has worked with you and the students for a longer time. So, but the college office does do the final edit and the final revision in September when we come back and we do the final submission of the guidance letter of recommendation. So that will be 3 letters from NES plus SEM. Now, students ask, well, can I ask for 5 letters of recommendations? And we say, no, you could only ask for 2 letters of recommendations. There are only a few exceptions, and I'll tell you why. Teachers at NES plus M put so much effort into writing and crafting these letters of recommendations. They do this after school, they do it at lunch, they do it during their summers. And so we know that the most college will require will be 2 letters of recommendation. So we wouldn't want teachers to write 30 letters, 30 additional letters for students that won't be needed. Ooh, I think someone needs to be muted. Sorry. Hello? Miss Glickman, I think I'm gonna mute you. Sorry. It's okay. So the exceptions are if a student is applying to the CUNY School of Medicine, then they could ask for more than 2 teacher letters of recommendations because the CUNY School of Medicine requires 5 letters of recommendations. That's the only program that will require 5 letters and a 3-hour interview. The other exception is if a student is applying for design, architecture, then in addition to their 2 academic letters, they can, of course, ask their art teacher, Ms. Sevilla. Maybe a student is applying to theater. In addition to their 2 academic letters, they can ask Mr. Yusa. Or maybe they're applying to a conservatory for music. Then they could ask, in addition to the 2 letters, they could ask Mr. Magori. So those are kind of the exceptions. Sometimes I know that students are also in sports and they might want to ask for a coach. That works as well. But those are only kind of like the exceptions, and we could talk more about it when we have the one-on-one meeting, or students can stop by to ask about specifics. So again, check for specific programs, specific college requirements. We suggest a combination of 10th and 11th grade. And then also one thing that I would add is if a student is in an ICT class that has two teachers, the two teachers are their teachers. So sometimes students maybe connect more with Mr. Chimfad or Mr. Basley or Mr. Wakshalok. They can ask the co-teacher, and when they write the letters of recommendations, they write it just like the other teacher. They just say, I am so-and-so's English teacher, I am so-and-so's chemistry teacher, and there is no difference. So that gives them more options in terms of who can write their letters of recommendations. In May and June, I'll send you a reminder to request them. We always say first in person, then send a follow-up email, and then there is an official way to request them on Naviance to have them on the system. Everyone, by the time they go on to summer, should have already secured their 2 letters of recommendations from Nest Plus M. Okay? And then I will move on to outside letters of recommendations and then open up for questions about this topic. So for outside letters of recommendations, some colleges, not all, allowed you to, in addition to the academic letters and the guidance letter, to send an outside letter. It could be from a coach, supervisor, a boss, a mentor. Maybe they did a college program and the professor offered to write a letter. They can do that. This goes directly onto the common application after August, not now. After August, they add the person's email, the person uploads the letter once, and then the student can reuse it in different colleges, for different colleges. Now, the outside letter of recommendation does not replace an academic letter. So students will still need the teacher letters because this is just kind of like a supplemental letter. Is this required? No. What about if my child doesn't have an outside letter? Would that impact them negatively? No. This is just an additional letter, an optional letter. If they have it, they could use it. If they don't have it, it's fine. Now, sometimes students may ask us, my dad's friend offered me to write a letter of recommendation and should I take it? So it depends, right? Because if it's just a family friend and if it has to be substantial and the person who writes an outside letter of recommendation should be able to speak about other aspects of the student skills. So if they, let's say they volunteer at their company or they work with them at certain projects, so definitely yes. If it's just a friend saying, hey, this is my family friend, I strongly recommend them, then it might not be as strong of a letter. And also, not all colleges accept outside letters. Okay. And how do you know if they accept it? Once you start adding colleges to Common App, it will tell you if they accept outside letters of recommendations or not. Now, any questions, any specific questions about letters of recommendations that we should address?
I have a question.
Yes.
If you aren't sure, not that you're not sure that they're going to write nice things about your kid, but you're not sure if the letter is going to be English
Wrong.
might not be their first language, or like, you know, we all work with different types of people, and how much and how well they write varies. Is there a reflection on the kind of writing that the person submits on the kid, or should you not care about that? If it's a great review of your kid, should you care about how they present themselves, the person who might be writing the letter? I know that sounds like a mean question, but
No, it's not mean at all. I absolutely understand. So, in terms of you meant outside letters of recommendation or teacher letters or in general? Oh, I think you're muted.
outside letters, not those, yeah,
The
people
school
who
letters.
maybe don't do it all the time.
Right. Yes. So that's a good question. Sometimes they may ask for samples. We're happy to help them with samples. The letters of recommendations are confidential, both teachers and outside letters of recommendations. So there are times in which we've received, if there is a hesitation about the quality of the letter, we receive the letter and we may be able to give some feedback, although it's rare. But as long as the letter is strong, the student will not be penalized for grammar errors or, you know, semantics or anything, or the quality of the letter in terms of how well it's written. although we do recommend that the recommender writes a strong letter, and it's well written. But if there's any hesitation, feel free to reach out to us, and we could guide them or give them some feedback.
Can I ask
Any?
another question around the letters of recommendation?
Yes, please.
If it's for a specific school only, let's say my child has a relationship with a prominent alum or someone on the
Mm-hmm.
board, or how does that work with a Common App?
That's a great question. That if you have a very specific letter for an outside recommender, that letter should be sent directly to admissions, because on the Common App, since they upload it once, the student can't pick which letter unless this letter goes only to this college and this letter won't be reused to for other colleges, then that's fine. That could be used on the Common App. However, we have students who say, as you mentioned, well, this person could write a very specific letter to Duke, but could also write a general letter for all my other schools. Then the specific letter has to be sent directly to admissions, and the general letter should be on Common App. But just you just have to be very meticulous about how to add it. But I would suggest to not make any mistakes. Only add general letters to Common App and specific letters directly to admissions. Any other questions, Ms. Nowicki? Any questions that you may see on the chat for letters of recommendations in general, or Ms. Glickman?
Not for letters, I don't think. I was just answering a question about early application, like applying early, but I don't know if we want to table that for later in the presentation or.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys review the teachers' recommendation letters before they're uploaded?
Yes, we have access to them and we read them. And I could tell you that teachers put so much effort into writing them, crafting them. They are personalized, they're individualized, they're well written. So yes, we have access to them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that some students also have asked, what if the teacher says no, right? Very rarely a teacher will say no to a request, and there could be two reasons. One, maybe they feel that they don't have enough information to write a strong letter of recommendation, in which case it's appreciated that the teacher tells the student, hey, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to write you a letter of recommendation. So that's kind of like back to your question about if we read and how the quality of their letters, because a teacher would instead say no rather than not write a strong letter. And then the other reason why a teacher may say no is if they have too many letters. For example, some teachers are writing 35 letters of recommendations. Some teachers have 10. Some teachers may have 50 letters of recommendations. So that's what I was saying about establishing a relationship with all their teachers. And this is something that I mentioned to the students, because at the end, the students sometimes have to make adjustments about who they ask for a letter of recommendation.
I have a question. Are the teachers compensated for all this time in any way?
No.
Holy crud. Thank you.
Yes. But actually, the college office prepares sometimes a breakfast, or this time we were thinking about a lunch as a thank you. We also buy thank you notes for students to write at the end of the season. So we try to, really demonstrate how valuable this is, because it's very, very valuable. But no, they don't. Which is why also we kind of like limit the number of letters that they have to write. Okay, moving on. The next thing is a hot topic, SAT and ACT. So these are standardized exams that are used for college admission. Now, after the pandemic, many schools, and even before, many schools decided to go test optional, meaning if you have a strong score, you can send it to us. If you don't, you don't have to send it, and it won't affect your application. We'll talk a little bit about what test optional means, but what I could tell you is that more and more, particularly for your current class, colleges are going back to requesting the tests. For example, Princeton, last time that they were here, they said that this year was the last year that they were going to test optional because they're going back to requesting it. So particularly the most selective schools are going back to requiring the tests. So I would say prep, take it multiple times as if you are going to submit it to all. That way you will have more options. So the SAT and the ACT are different exams. They're both equally accepted. And I think the main difference from what I've heard from students is that the ACT is kind of like has a faster pace. What we suggest the students do is that they try to take an SAT and an ACT to see which one works best for them. The only reason why we hear more about the SAT is pure marketing. One is being around for longer. Two, for example, the ACT can come into the DOE schools and test the students, and there's, you know, the company can College Board can come in and we have AP exams, etc. So College Board, we hear more about it. Now, there are many students that once they take the ACT, they realize that they really like it and that the test is better with their testing style. But again, you don't hear much about it. So I would say if after taking the PSAT, which is more or less like a practice exam for the SAT, I would say try to take out the ACT at least once. See how well you do. And maybe that's the test for you. And maybe you continue prepping and testing for that one. And you could also super score, meaning that you could take the highest of each section from different dates of the same exam. So to register, as I was saying earlier, students took the PSAT in school. These scores are not sent to colleges, but they determine eligibility for National Merit Scholarship. For the SAT, it will be taken in March. And if students want to take it outside of school, outside of March, then they can go on College Board and register on College Board. It will take about 30 minutes to answer all the questions. I believe they have to upload a picture of themselves. So if they need help registering, they could come to one of our offices and we'll help them register at lunch. The one test that I recommend to not take is in May. Why? Because you have the AP exams. So dealing with AP exams in May and also the AP could be very stressful for the students. So I would suggest try to take it in March. Maybe some students want to go ahead and take it in December and prep. For many students, June may be too soon. The latest we recommend students to take the SAT will be in August or September, the latest. Why? Because the sooner you have all your scores, the better you'll know kind of like where you stand against like your college list. So something to keep in mind. Now, these are the dates for the ACT. Same idea, you go on act.org, the students register. Anything outside, well, especially for the ACT, they will give you a testing site. So the sooner you register, the better, because some of these testing sites, both with the SAT and ACT, could fill up very quickly. And I remember 2 years ago when I was helping my sister, the only times that we were able to sign up for were in Jersey. And I should have known better, but I forgot. So it happens. So make sure that you keep monitoring those registration dates and sign up sooner rather than later. As I said before, students could take it multiple times. And a common question is, will colleges see how many times I take the test? Well, most of them won't, because most of them will allow you to either send your highest score or super score, which is what I was saying, combine two different dates. There may be a few. The only one that I could think of right now is Georgetown University is the only one that will say, well, you took the SAT 6 times. We need all 6 dates. But that's very rare. So in general, students at colleges won't see every single date unless the student submits it. any questions about SAT or ACT?
Yes. I think I was answering, but there's a bunch. Well, here's a good one to answer verbally versus in the chat. Can the kids take the SAT in March, but use it as a baseline and take it again, aiming for higher scores? So, so the answer to that is yes, absolutely. You just want to be mindful of how many times you take it. It's definitely okay to take it a few times, but it's not something that you want to assume that you can take indefinitely. Let's see. Yes, many students contact your child.
Oopsies.
Somebody asked about whether or not, or I should say when they would see August SAT testing dates on the college board. I'm assuming that means like when they will be released for someone to sign up. I'm actually not positive. I don't know if you know, Miss Alba or Miss Glickman, when the August test dates are usually released.
I don't recall. For now, this was the latest available dates that they have on College Board. I don't remember if they are released at the end of June. I don't recall when they published them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's
I
everything.
think it's a little before June, but it's not for a few months typically.
Okay. Perfect. Now the next question will be test optional. Should we go test optional? What if I don't have the score that the school has a middle 50% range to send? So for now, I would say we might not know just yet until you're done with all the testing, until you have the 2 or 3 SAT or ACT exams that we will determine whether or not to send it. And we could help students determine based on the common data set, based on the percentage of students who get admitted, submit scores, based on the 50 middle percent range, based on some of the data that we may have, internal data from Nest Plus M students. So definitely we could help them determine that. There is a website that I have linked here that I think I've showed before that has a list of the schools that are test optional, and it tells you if it's a permanent policy or if they will when is the last date that they've decided to go test optional. Sometimes some colleges announce it year by year. So for some schools we might not know until May or June when they announce it, like, hey, X, Y, and Z, we're requiring tests now. So I would say try to prep as much as possible. For AP exams, I know there's a question about, are AP exam scores required? They're not required for most schools. And on the Common App, students can self-report the AP scores that they want to self-report. Especially, I mean, usually students with 4s and 5s are the ones that report their scores. And if a student is thinking of applying to international schools, AP exam scores are very important. Many colleges and depending on the program and depending on the country, many of their websites are very straightforward. And they say, well, you need a high school diploma and you also need to have 3 AP scores for the following degree. So if that is something that you're considering, definitely prep for the AP exams, definitely prep for to submit your AP exam scores. Sometimes students who apply to colleges abroad during their senior year, they get an offer and they say, congratulations, but your offer is conditional as long as you get a 5 in your AP English and as long as you get a 5 in your AP Physics. This is just an example. But if the student already has those scores from junior year or sophomore year, then the offer is no longer conditional, and at least you know, okay, I have this, right? Because if they get a conditional offer, they won't know until July when the AP exams come out, like the scores come out. And the last thing I would say about the importance of AP exams is some schools like NYU and Yale have something that's called test flexible. Meaning, if you don't have a strong SAT or ACT score, then instead you could submit AP scores. So some of our students have very strong AP scores, but they don't have a strong SAT. So then they apply with AP scores. So that's test flexible. Okay. Any questions about
I
test
just
flexible?
can I have one question about the APs. So I was talking to a family and they
Mhm.
said that for like the top schools in Europe, unless you get 5 APs and 5 in all of them, it's kind of like don't even show up. Like I'm talking like Cambridge, Oxford, UCL, like those kinds. Do you find that to be true?
They do ask for 4s and 5s, and it also depends on the program because some schools will say, well, if you're applying to history versus engineering, they will ask for different requirements. So a lot of it has to do with the program. But yes, the more selective schools, the more APs, the higher scores they will want. Okay. All right. So I'll move on to the common data set very quickly. We'll talk more about it, but last time I shared that each college submits or publishes rather a report that is called the common data set in which they share, this is just a screenshot of one of the pages, what's important for them. And on the left side, this is Binghamton University, we see the rigor, which is what I was talking about earlier, the number of AP courses that you take, how challenging your course load is. It's very important. Some of them will say class rank is very important. But at Nest, we do not rank. We don't disclose ranking, so you can disregard that section. And each school will have something like this. They will also have the distribution of high school years that is required or recommended. In general, we recommend students to take 3 years of foreign language, 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 4 years of science to have like a strong application and have options for next year. So this is, for example, NYU. Each chart will look a little different depending on the school. But as I was saying, this is only one of the pages of the common data set. The common data set is usually like 40 pages long. It also tells you the middle 50% range of the SAT. I'll show you one of them. For example, U Michigan. Can you guys still see my screen? Google? Yes, U Michigan.
Yes.
Thank you. Common data set. You just Google the name of the school and then the words common data set. Some of them will have the latest, for example, here, the latest common data set that we have is 24-25. So once we click on it, this is more or less what it looks like. And I'm sorry the internet is so slow, but I'm so thankful we're connected because since we had lost it earlier, so I can't complain. Anyway, it's loading. All right. Okay, so this is what the common data set looks like. It's, as I was saying, it's about 40 pages long, and this one is 26 pages actually for U Michigan. And I was already, it tells you what kind of program they have, their address, everything about the admissions, how many students apply, demographics, etc. So once we get to section C is what really changes from year to year in terms of admission and what you want to know. So we're going to keep going. Keep scrolling. So section C, for you, Michigan in particular, it tells you, well, how many years of English and science. But if you notice, it also tells you it varies by college, by school and college. So same thing, as students who's applying for business, the requirements will look slightly different to someone who's applying to engineering. So it tells you what's important for them, what's considered, what's very important. And this is what I want you guys to pay attention to for SAT and ACT. Most colleges will share this information. And I say most because when I went into the classroom in one of the classes, they said, oh, can we check Caltech? Well, Caltech had all of this blank. So some schools will not disclose this information. But for example, in here, Michigan is telling us that 51% of their enrolled students submitted SAT scores and 18% of their admitted students submitted ACT scores. So they're test optional, and in general, close to 70% of their admitted students submitted scores. So even though they're test optional, it tells you that Michigan really values students who submit scores, right? Or they really like to see scores. Other schools may have, once you add the percentage, maybe only 40% of their students submit scores. So that also tells you something about how friendly they are with the test optional policy. The schools will also tell you the middle 50 percentile. So what we usually recommend it for students is that if they are within the middle 50th percentile of the latest common data set, to send their scores, whether it's ACT or SAT. So again, this is a common data set. Each school will have different numbers, and this will be very helpful as you're trying to decide where to submit scores or where not to submit scores, or what kind of scores are you aiming for. Some of the schools that are test optional and the more competitive schools, their middle 50th percentile will look super narrow and will be like 1550 to 1600, right? It's very, very unrealistic. But that is because maybe only those students who have really, really high scores are those who are disclosing their scores. So once we see that colleges start requiring the test, it kind of like the middle 50 percentile, it's kind of like more balanced. So I know I'm running a little bit out of time because we were delayed. The last thing I would say, and again, this is only the first workshop. I know we're giving you so much information, but there will be more details. At the next workshop, we'll talk a little bit about early action, early decision. What should we do? When should we apply? I know there are a lot of questions about that, so I want to dedicate more time to that specifically. But for now, the last thing I will say is, how do you start researching for colleges? How do you start looking? There's 4,000 universities in the US alone. So it's very overwhelming and intimidating for parents and for students to just get started. But there are many websites, including Naviance, to which you all have an account. And if you have trouble accessing it, if you never got your username as a parent, or if you forgot it, email Ms. Nowicki and I, and we'll reset your password and we'll send you your username or create a new username. But essentially, once you log into Naviance, this is a tool that we use to submit official documents. That's the main role of Naviance. But also, it's great to research colleges and career assessments. And each of you should have an account. Again, if you don't have it, if you're not sure if you have one, email us and we'll get back to you today or Monday. So, Naviance has, and I had it here. Let me see here. So I will show you what it looks like for the student. And I see Simi saying that the public library also has a lot of good college books. Thank you so much for sharing. So once you're in Naviance, this is kind of like, it has a super match, college search, a college match. So you can start plugging in the distance, the size, the type of school that you want, and it will give you a list. Additionally, something that students really like and families is, once you research a college, for example, I will do Stony Brook University. I will click here. I think, I don't know what happened. Let's do it again. I'm not sure why it's not working. I don't know why it's not working. Let's see here. Huh. This is interesting. I've never seen this. I apologize. I will look into why is it not showing, because if it's not showing for me, it might not show for you. I will double check for you. But on Naviance, you can look at something that's called scattergrams, in which you can see, I had here a screenshot, thankfully. You can see how many students from Nest have applied in the past few years. And this is Nest plus SEM specific. How many students have gotten admitted to that particular school and how many students end up enrolling. So you could get a sense of how a Nest plus SEM does or how many students apply in general to that particular school. It would also tell you, it will also have a scattergram that will tell you kind of like the GPA, SAT, or ACT combination of the student. And it would also tell you if the student applied early or if the student applied early decision, early action, or regular. And the X means denied, the check means admitted, and I think the little round purple dot means waitlisted. So it gives you some information about past applicants specifically from Nest plus M. So this is called the scattergrams. I will look into to make sure that you're able to see it once you go into your account. But essentially, you look at the college, you click on it, and you go to admissions page on that particular college. And you can start seeing all this data from Nest plus M. In addition to Naviance, I really like the website Niche. There are many different websites. There are many. College Board also has its own search. There are many different tools that you can use. Niche, you can create a free account, and on the left, you could select by majors. You could select the size, the type of school, and to me, the most important thing is the selectivity. What I told the students is as we start meeting, if you only have the Ivies and say, hey, here's my college list, it's not a well-balanced list. We know students at Nest will apply to Ivies, will apply to top competitive schools, and we want them and we encourage them to do that. But we also want the students to have a balance in admission rates and selectivity. We also want students to have a backup, academic and financial backup, right? So if let's say a student is applying to as a biology major, they could click here. But again, since nothing else is marked, it will give you only like schools that have a really low acceptance rate, which will be great to add. You could add some of these to your list, but then I would say maybe let's, instead of doing extremely selective, let's start with selective. Let's see what else, what other suggestions it gives you. So Purdue University, amazing research university. You click on it, 50% acceptance rate, and it gives you more information. Then you could go on to the Naviance tool and see how well Nest plus M students do at a particular school. So this was Niche. But again, there's so many websites, so many tools that if you have one that you like, feel free to recommend to us or to other parents as well. And this is what I was saying before. As you start adding things to the list, I would say have some safety schools, schools that have really high acceptance rate. Usually above 50% acceptance rate will be like a safety school. A target school could be still selective, but we usually say between 40 and 50% acceptance rate. And reach schools will be anything below a 25, 30% acceptance rate. Some of them are super reach that have like a 4% acceptance rate. So make sure that the list starts looking and it's well balanced as you start researching these schools. So and once the students in junior year, when we have their 101 and also senior year, usually we kind of like assess the balance of the list, and sometimes we say, hey, I think you're missing a few safety schools. I think you're missing some target schools. To be honest with you, the hardest category to get is the target schools. The easiest is obviously to find the reach schools and the safety schools, but the target schools sometimes is harder to find. And I would say that some colleges are not specifically reaches or specifically targets. Some schools are in between. Some schools are in between targets and safeties. So as long as the list is well balanced and across um different acceptance rates, it should be fine. Don't worry or don't stress out too much about fitting into one specific category. So we're getting to the end of the workshop. I thank you so much for staying with us. I know this is a lot of information and it was a long meeting, but I would say the top priorities would be take the SAT, ACT at least twice in the junior year, research and visit colleges. You could start with the schools in New York City. I know traveling might not be easy to everyone. But start with Fordham, NYU, Columbia, Hunter, City College, Baruch, etc. Strengthen your extracurricular activities. I often send out the student database. There's so many opportunities there. Please encourage your child to take advantage to apply. There's so many internships, summer programs, jobs. Anything counts. If they're part of a club, to make sure that they are involved, that they take lead on certain projects. And letters of recommendations. Again, communicate with the teachers, have the students communicate directly with the teachers and establish those connections and maintain a strong GPA. What I shared to the students was that right now, the first quarter is over. They still have 3 marking periods to go. If they need to make any adjustments, if they still feel that they want to improve their GPA for junior year, there is still time. We're starting a new marking period, and none of the grades are on their transcript yet. They still have a chance to improve it. So, parents, you're doing great. I know this is a lot. I know it could be overwhelming and confusing. We're here to help you. Reach out if you have any questions. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for reviewing this. Please join our next meeting because we will talk a little bit about other topics and then maybe you have more questions. Thank you so much all. Thank you, Ms. Glickman, Ms. Nowicki.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming.
And I will stay a few more minutes to see if anybody has any questions or Ms. Nowicki, if you think there anything that we need to address.
I think we addressed all the questions.
Okay, anybody in the I will just project this. I share this with the students. It's a general suggested timeline or checklist. I gave them a copy. I'll email it to you as well. And let me know if anybody has any questions. Andrea, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know if it's I'm being okay. I remember back when I'm so hello, good morning, and thank you for doing this.
Hi, good
Um,
morning.
so do we have to pay for the application? Do we have to pay for to send this stuff out? Because but telling my age back in the day, I had to pay because we did it through paper many moons ago. So being that it's online, do we pay a fee or is it per college or is it the school has something worked out that they because I guess that it talked about like the early admission, regular, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning about all of that, the timeline of things.
Great question. So in October, for SUNYs and CUNYs and some schools in New York State, many schools offer free application during the month of October. And I will remind you next year. In addition to that, well, to go back to your question, yes, each application you have to pay between $50 or $80, depending on the school. But for schools in New York State, October is a free month application. So many schools, public and private, have free application month. In addition to that, if a student's family is eligible for free or reduced lunch, we will waive the fee waiver. We will provide a fee waiver for the student through Common App. They can request it. If they're not sure, they can come and ask us. I would say the most important thing is that you fill out the lunch form or what used to be called the lunch form early senior year so that you know if you're eligible or if you're not eligible for fee waivers. So yes, the applications cost. It depends on the school, There are ways of getting fee waivers directly from the school. And sometimes some colleges will say, hey, if you come on a tour, we'll give you a fee waiver code. Or if you join a virtual meeting, you'll get a fee waiver code. Or sometimes if families reach out to the schools and say, hey, I'm not eligible for fee waivers. However, it will be really beneficial to if we get a code from you guys so we could apply. And sometimes colleges just email you back a code. So, but if the student is eligible for free or reduced lunch, automatically they will get all their applications waived. Okay. And last, I see one question about how you get your Naviance information. You could email us and we'll, with the name of your child, your email address, and then we'll activate your account. And if it's already active, we'll reshare or reactivate the password. Okay. Any last minute questions?
Tell him to come to College Talk today at noon.
College Talk, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry.
Where it's okay. Where can they find the link?
I have it in the chat and I'll put it again right.
Okay, great. So come to College Talk with Lisa, and you could share, you could ask questions, and she could share also information that we have talked about this morning. And if you missed the first part of the morning, it's recorded, and I'll share the recording later today along with all these resources. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you too. Have a good day. Thank you
You
again.
too.
Bye.
Bye.